Hi, Alan Stark here at UNICITY Marketing. Occasionally we hear of things that franchise owners are doing to help build their businesses, and we'd like to pass these on to you. You may have been asked the question, how does Slim work? Or maybe you've wondered that yourself. We'd like to show you a simple visual demonstration that you can use to show your customers and franchise partners. Slim's benefits are understood best if you first show how a body works under ideal circumstances. That would be how a body works with an ideal diet and why that body burns fat instead of stores it. Next, show how a modern diet and lifestyle have transformed the body from a fat burning machine into a fat storing machine. Then, of course, you show how, by adding BioSlice Slim to the diet, you can convert the body back to the ideal fat burning stage. And then you can show that there are some simple things that you can do to help speed up the fat loss process. Now, even though what I'm going to show you may seem a lot like biology class all over again, I promise I'll keep it simple. Okay, first up, here's how a body works in a perfect world. Now, a body feeds itself on the cellular level with just two things, glucose and free fatty acids. Glucose is a simple sugar. When you eat, the body converts that food into glucose. Then, glucose travels through the bloodstream. Even though glucose is in the bloodstream, it can't be absorbed by your body's cells as nourishment just yet. Your cells have to wait to be fed until your body produces a hormone called insulin. Every cell in your body, and there are trillions, has a receptor site for insulin. This receptor site acts like a door that stays shut without insulin. Once the pancreas produces insulin, the insulin attaches to this receptor site and opens the door so that glucose can enter and feed the cell. Your whole body is made up of cells. You have brain cells, muscle cells, organ cells, and you even have fat cells. Glucose feeds your organ cells, your muscle cells, and any excess glucose that's in the bloodstream, and if we've eaten too much or the wrong things, we're going to have more glucose than our cells need. That excess glucose gets packed into your fat cells and is kept there until we need it. So the glucose is used up or stored away for later use. After the glucose is gone, then the insulin has done its job and it detaches from the receptor site and leaves your body. Now when your cells want more nourishment and energy, the glucose stored in your fat cells is converted into a molecule called free fatty acids. These free fatty acids are free to go back into the bloodstream to be circulated throughout your body. Free fatty acids don't need insulin to be absorbed by the cells. They enter the cells and feed them when there's no glucose available to feed them. When the body works this way, it fuels itself on the fat that it's stored in your fat cells. Okay, here's the problem though. If insulin is still attached to the cells, the free fatty acids can't get out in order to feed your cells. So we keep storing fat, but not burning it. Without some form of nutrition for our cells, we start to get tired and we start wanting to eat anything that'll give our body glucose to feed our cells. That's the time when you have cravings, and that's usually the time when you end up eating something that's not very nutritious or good for you. Now, this is where you show how a modern diet and lifestyle have transformed the body from a fat burning machine into a fat storing machine. Now, you can show this with a simple graph. This time, instead of drawing the bloodstream, you'll draw a graph that helps to show the amount of glucose and insulin in the blood. To make your presentation a little more real or authentic, you might want to relate portions of it to you in your life. For example, here's how I might present it. Now, I'm going to use two color markers here, but you're certainly not obligated to do that. Let me show you what used to happen to me before I had BioSlice Slim. Now, see if this sounds familiar. I'd get up in the morning and want breakfast, maybe some pancakes with syrup or some cold cereal with milk, add some toast with butter and jam, or sometimes I'd grab a donut or a Pop-Tart. Have you eaten stuff like that for breakfast? When that donut enters my body, it's converted to glucose and rushes into my bloodstream. The more sugary the food, the faster and higher the blood sugar or glucose level rises. The pancreas senses the spike of glucose in the blood. It responds by pumping out insulin and creating an insulin spike in response to the spike in my glucose level. That surge of insulin works the way it's supposed to. It opens up the doors to my cells, allowing the glucose to enter and feed them. Then the excess glucose is stored in my fat cells. Since my cells are feasting on glucose and the extra is being stored away, the glucose level in my blood falls. But insulin takes a longer time before it detaches from the receptor site and leaves the body. Insulin is called a long-chain polypeptide and is a more complex molecule than glucose, so it takes more time before it can leave your system. Even though the glucose level in my bloodstream comes down fairly quickly, my insulin level takes a lot longer to go down. The glucose level takes maybe an hour and a half to spike up and come back down, but insulin takes 3 to 5 hours to do that. Now, my cells need nourishment 24 hours a day, but with lots of insulin in my body, my fat cells can't release those free fatty acids to feed my cells, even if those cells are starting to want more food. And what happens after a little while? I start feeling a little irritable, I can't concentrate, getting tired, and then the cravings begin. For me now, that was about 10 o'clock in the morning. You get that way about mid-morning? There I was, low blood sugar level. I can't use my stored fat, and there's a lot of it, because insulin's still there blocking the way out, and I probably won't wait 3 to 5 hours in order for my insulin to go away so I can feed my body with my stored fat. So to me, the obvious answer was to eat something. So I grabbed whatever's around, and it's a Snickers bar from the candy machine. Have you ever done that? My glucose levels spike back up, which causes my body to release more insulin, which pulls that glucose level back down into the cells, and the extra gets stored away in my fat cells again. But because the insulin level is still high, I'm not able to burn any free fatty acids. In other words, I'm adding to the fat storage, but never taking any out. Okay, so now it's noon, and I'm really hungry, but I'm swamped at work, so I need to grab something really quick for lunch. The fast food I eat forces my insulin level back up, and the cycle continues into the afternoon. I end up bathing my body in insulin the entire day. Okay, now I get that insulin's important. I have to have it in order to get the glucose out of the bloodstream and into the cells to feed them. But when I have too much insulin in my body for too long, I can create problems for myself. Now, my pancreas is straining to produce all that insulin, and that stress is bad. If it gets bad enough, I could develop adult onset diabetes, which nowadays you don't have to be an adult to get. Even children are getting it now, and it's called type 2 diabetes. Month after month, over a period of years, this sort of cycle wears out my pancreas. Either that or my body gets less and less sensitive to insulin, so it takes more and more of it to open the doors of my cells. What's more, my body starts getting fatter and fatter because it's storing fat at almost every meal, but not able to burn very much at all. Now, that's where I was headed before BioSlife Slim. Okay, now here's where you show how by adding BioSlife Slim to the diet, you can convert the body back to its ideal fat-burning stage. You'll need another simple graph to show the difference of being without Slim and how the body works now with Slim. You can still relate what you say to your own experiences with Slim. For example, now, before I eat, I drink a glass of BioSlife Slim. When I eat, the food goes into my stomach, mixes with the fiber matrix of BioSlife Slim. This creates a slow-release coating over all my food. That coating slows the rate at which glucose is released into my bloodstream, which reduces the amount of insulin I need. Since I don't have much insulin, it leaves my body sooner. By the time my glucose level is down, the insulin level's coming down too. When these levels drop, my fat cells are able to release the free fatty acids to take over the feeding of my cells, and I enter the fat-burning zone. The fat-burning zone is simply the window of time when my body will be able to release and burn these free fatty acids for energy instead of craving food. In the fat-burning zone, you won't feel cravings and you won't be tired because your cells are using free fatty acids for food. The fat that was in storage is now being burned to give your cells the energy that they need. Now, after a couple of hours in the fat-burning zone, I'm ready to have a meal. I drink another glass of BioSlife Slim, eat a reasonable meal. Now, I don't overeat because Slim takes up some space in my stomach, so I eat less and feel fuller sooner. And I start the same cycle again. I have that gentle arc of glucose and the gentle arc of insulin that mirrors it. and then I enter another fat burning zone. My body is storing less fat because I'm using the glucose over a 2 to 3 hour time instead of an hour or an hour and a half. Plus, when the insulin runs out, I start burning fat for a couple of hours after each meal. I'm storing less and burning more. When evening comes, I've had dinner with BioSlice Slim. Now I'm going to burn fat for 10 to 12 hours, even while I sleep. Now, I've literally become a fat burning machine, storing less fat and burning more instead of storing fat at every meal and burning practically none. That's how come after I started Slim, I had a boost in energy and my cravings were gone. Slim helped me release my stored fat and burn it away. Because of Slim, my body became a fat burning machine instead of a fat storing machine. Now, the last thing to explain is that if they're in a hurry to lose that excess fat and want to accelerate their success with BioSlice Slim, there are 5 simple adjustments that they can start today. It might help you to remember these 5 slimming rules by thinking of the word eaten, E-A-T-E-N. E stands for eat a high-protein breakfast each morning. Actually, studies show that skipping breakfast contributes to weight gain and obesity. Now, our delicious Lean Complete Meal Replacement Shake meets the criteria of a high-protein, low-carbohydrate breakfast. Now, A is, along with BioSlice Slim, eat 3 healthy, well-balanced meals that include lean protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates. T is time between meals. You need to space these 3 meals appropriately. You should have at least 4 hours between breakfast and lunch, at least 4 hours between lunch and dinner, and you should have 10 to 12 hours between dinner and breakfast. E is exercise. You don't need to become an exercise fanatic, just move your body more. Park farther away from the store, take the stairs, mow the lawn. N stands for no junk food. Eat less sugary and processed foods. We should cut back altogether on soft drinks or the so-called sports drinks, which can cause a huge release of insulin. Well, there you have it, a visual way of showing how Slim works. First, show how the body works in a perfect world. Second, show how the body works under the influence of our modern, not-so-healthy diet and lifestyle. Third, show how BioSlice Slim helps to return the body to its natural fat-burning mode. And fourth, introduce them to 5 easy adjustments that they can make to accelerate fat loss.